Here is yet another top loader mod, but I've been wanting to show this one off for a long time. I think it's been in development for almost 2 years. All the circuit design was made by a guy that his ID is 133 megahertz. I'm not sure of his real name. I think he's in Spain or Portugal. What it is a remote reset mod. And what I did was I took his circuit and made this little board out of it. Can I get an idea of the surface mount components on it? And then here's what it looks like when it's installed. Basically, it solders to 5 of the pins of player 1's controller port, and then over here to the reset pin, which will be the positive side of the 0.47 microfarad cap right there. And the functionality is when you press A, B, select and start all at the same time, it resets the console. That's all it does. And it took all of that to do it. But for people that use the PowerPak or any kind of multi-cart, this is basically a way to be even more lazy. You don't have to get up off the couch or out of the recliner and go up and hit reset on the console to reboot to another game. Okay, well now we're going to test it out. Same board, got the reset solder to the bottom. And you'll notice the reset button functions as normal. Everything's normal. During the game, you can hit all 4 buttons and it reboots. Now the problem with this mod was I had to go through a lot of combinations of a resistor and capacitor to find one that would cycle for long enough to reboot the PowerPak, because it actually requires 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 second reset. I do that every time. You know, if you are a PowerPak user, you know you have to hold the reset button down for more than a second, almost 2 seconds, to get it to boot to the first menu. Otherwise, if you just do that real quick, you just restart the game. And I'll do that right now. Just boom, real quick. Still works like that. If I'm playing the game, start still works. B still works separately, but if I hit all 4, I go back to the original menu and I can choose another game. And we'll throw in a controller test. That's interesting. It won't reboot the controller test cart, but does everything else. So there you go. I'm definitely not ever going to sell this one as a do-it-yourself, just because these chips need to be so small in order to get the board size down, in order to fit on there. And then of course we're going to have the shielding on the bottom of the Nintendo, and it still fits under that, you know, and it's only, I don't know, it may be a 1/4 inch deep or so. So we can't have any large components in there. And you know, it took me a long time to design this board, to measure everything properly, And of course I have, here is the test unit, which is on a front loader. And you got this big breadboard with all the chips necessary and all the wires, and then you can see it's just soldered into the controller port over here. But to avoid that, I went for this idea. And I know it's not going to be a very popular mod since, well, it might be for PowerPak users, but it's not going to be as popular as an AV mod, and probably not even as popular as a stereo overclock mod. But since it's really simple to install yourself, I might sell just the board. And of course it weighs nothing, and there's no, I mean, it wouldn't get smashed, or I could just tape that to the inside of a birthday card and send it to whoever thought they could solder it in there. On the controller port, there are pins that stick up, you know, and that's what lines up with these holes. And then you do not need to solder 2 of the pins. Those are used for the zapper gun mostly. And then down here on the reset pin, there's the component leg of the capacitor does not actually stick up through the board. Matter of fact, it might just be touching the bottom side of the board. But you know, I filled that hole with solder and tapped on a little bit, and it went down. It's going to be super hard to get on camera, but you can tell just by looking at it, and you could even run a continuity test between that solder and maybe this pin over here, and tell that it had come together and formed a joint. But that's all there is to installing it. Just 6 places to solder it down, and it should work. Cool, huh?